Yeah, it would be totally contextual.
Is it objective though?
True. It's your subjective view of somebody else's.
Yeah, I think it's subjective, right?
I mean, like, seeing them. But what qualifications would those be? Because honestly, it could be subjective. Like, one ENTJ to another wouldn't really view them as arrogant, whereas other types might, you know?
Um, well, how many times have you been called arrogant, Eric? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's that is, and it's interesting because I just got done watching the video where you made me sound much more eloquent than I liked it. Thanks for making me sound fallible. But confidence can be mistaken for arrogance quite often. And I think arrogance, if you look at the definition of it, it's self-importance. Nobody talks about their ridiculous nature openly as much as, like, I think you and I talk about our ridiculousness quite a bit, and we're quite authentic about it. It's a general sense of self-importance. It's that but we're also conscious of other people's. We don't, what you do in here is you go and ask everybody. You pay attention to everyone else. It's a difference between that. There's a difference between hijacking the conversation, other than just naturally flowing to. If somebody else wants to take over, I'm sure that you would let them in any given situation. But that doesn't happen. And when it does, you let it happen. And it's also, I think ENTPs are focused on personal growth a lot of times, and we need feedback.
I think it would be the willingness to display as such. You could probably get in a bad habit of doing it.
Why would one willfully display as arrogant?
If someone was a narcissist.
Or if they wanted people to think that they knew what they were talking about. Or like if they didn't feel as confident as they wanted to be about a subject.
Well, arrogance often closes people down from an idea, right? It'd be counterproductive to engage in displaying as arrogant if you're trying to convey a thought, right?
Right, which is a monkey fight thing. It's about that's the only context it's good for, pretty much. They are.
Aren't they?
Well, I'm looking up definitions of arrogance, and there's apparently, if by some of these definitions I could be arrogant, and by some I'm nowhere near.
Well, it's all subjective.
I mean, making undue claims in an overbearing manner. I make undue claims in an overbearing manner just for the sake of
But people
blah, blah,
perceive
blah.
arrogance, so. What do you mean? What?
Yeah, exactly.
On a related note, this MBTI plus guy, what he's saying about NTs accepting arrogant as a compliment, I think what's going on here is that what happens is when someone starts attacking an NT by calling them arrogant, the NT is like, they can't dispute my idea, they're attacking me personally with a ad hominem. And that's like, proves your idea is good, because they don't have a good attack against it.
That's an awful big leap.
Well, not prove, but
Makes sense.
Most of the time, yeah, but
I don't know if I'd call it arrogance, but it's
I
something.
well, I personally, when I feel like somebody is being arrogant, I attack it. So I certainly don't want to be that because I'm like, that's weird. I don't know. That's interesting. And what I
What do
feel
you
is arrogance is when the person can't logically back up their claim, nor can they, or they have a delirious view of.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Maybe we're arrogant.
but yeah, the comments in there on that thread were on MBTI Plus about that video. They were saying like NTs will talk to each other and neither one will think the other one's arrogant, but the NT will have a conversation with like an SF, and sometimes the SF will walk away thinking the NT's arrogant, which would mean that it's not really the NT being arrogant so much as a perception.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing and interesting hearing you talk about this when they've had the same type of internal. It's rough to try and rationalize that when you're called such a thing multiple times. But here's what's helped me. I don't know if it does anything for you, Eric. Nobody close to me will ever call me arrogant. At least consistently arrogant. It's a new people problem. Well, and we're also coming into it with the, we have the title of ENTP. I mean, that's an interesting thing all on its own, I think. I, coming into a conversation where people know you're an ENTP. I mean, I'm not saying special, but there's the ENTP-ness. You lay it out on the table. It's easier to lay out on the table and say, "Would you look at it?" Suspend it. Suspend thought. Get to the point of mindlessness, or being in the moment. Like the prayer thing, I think is similar. I know. Trust me. It's quite the
Okay,
burden.
that's starting to sound a little bit arrogant.
Oh man, you're, I love you, Eric. I do. Since from the bottom of my heart, I love you to death. I'm glad you exist because you're saying stuff that, yeah, I don't want to relate to it, but yeah, you gotta. I think we gotta shake that whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I can relate to that, but I think that's empty. There's nothing fulfilling out of that.
It's in FI and it's not objective.
I
You can
I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you about that one-on-one sometime, Eric. Yeah. No, there's certain beliefs that I have that are new to me and that I don't want to force upon other people who can't have the conversation back. It's no. I just want to, if you're interested, tell you. I think you would be unexpecting. You wouldn't expect me to say what I would say. No, it's just it's there's things that I don't want to misspeak on, and that uh, radical shift in my own life and things that I've experienced that it's hard enough to articulate as it is, and I don't know. Well, in that case, arrogance was made for the ENTP. I mean, it's a word that was. Yeah, I think it's knowing a lot of things but willing to be wrong when introduced, if new evidence is introduced, is important. Because then your ego is attached to it. No, but when you do it like that, it's the goal, the intent and goal is not to help somebody see the truth or help somebody or to move forward, because it's a more tactical. You do want to be careful about how you present it. If that's the case, you often want them to be the one that comes up. So you want them to understand what you're saying without you saying it directly, through questioning, lines of questioning. But if you do it where what the NTP can do in a spectacular fashion, when it's a debate style and it's pummeling, that often is just done to serve the pummeling itself. But you can shift the. Well, I think I mean, ENTPs like arguing. It's helpful to. It's a good way to learn, and it's often done for sport though, and it's often also done because of a just dislike for false claims as well. But it is. But sometimes there's better ways to go about it, and it doesn't seem to come off as arrogant, I guess. But it's not fun. I think it's a major component of it. Well, I mean, it's not whether you are arrogant or not. It's a perception thing. So people are going to be more inclined to call you arrogant if you're engaging in battles, especially if they're losing. I don't know. This is all conjecture. I mean, I haven't thought about it. Well, while it's important for me to say that while me saying this stuff to you, it's really me saying it to me. Also, you know, I'm like talking to my self. I'm like talking to my subconscious right now, or something. My subconscious. That would have been a good video. Oh, really?
I turned it all the way down. Let's see.